Seeing Liang Yu seemed to want to say something, Sin Sin said, "Go ahead and share your thoughts." Noticing Liang Yu still hesitated, Sin Sin continued, "I think we're a bit too worried right now. Don't let panic diminish your judgment. Take the Xaishan base as an example. They control the garrison in Tian High City and have the strongest forces, yet they still haven't completely secured all territories in Xaishan and Lujian. Other factions likely feel the same. Moreover, they are also holding each other back, afraid to expand suddenly. Otherwise, their own bases will be at risk of attack. Therefore, we can deduce that we still have quite a long time to prepare for the future." Truly chimed in, "Then let's finish building the defense line early. Overall, that's not wrong. Prevention is better than no disease." But Sin Sin insisted the defense line can be built early, but we don't need to rush into a defensive state. We should take this opportunity to gather more supplies. "Brother Zhang Yi, don't you want to go look for materials for the shelter?" The young man nodded, "Right. So based on Kiran's words, the outer wall of the shelter needs a lot of construction materials. Construction materials are in short supply, and this will indeed take some time." Sin Sin turned to Liang Yu and said, "The Xujia town also needs to prepare some food supplies for the upcoming battle." Liang Yu replied with a worried expression, "That's exactly what I'm worried about. If enemies really attack, won't the folks in Xudong village be in great danger?" Sin Sin advised again, "You can't protect them forever. It's better to inform them about the situation so they can stock up on food and escape. You don't need to worry. I already said there won't be any enemies appearing nearby in the short term." Hearing Sin Sin speak to Liang Yu, Zhang Yi thought to himself, if enemies really come, Xudong village will bear the brunt. Perhaps she intends to use those people to get rid of the useless ones. Liang Yu asked Zhang Yi, "Can they help us build defensive fortifications in exchange for protection?" Zhang Yi directly questioned Liang Yu, "Do those students know how to catch fish? If they can't catch fish, they could be in danger in this cold weather." Liang Yu immediately appeared embarrassed. Zhang Yi thought to himself, "These students can't even catch fish in the frozen river. How can they be of any help? They'll only cause more trouble." Yang Sin Sin reassured Liang Yu, "Don't worry, Ms. Liang. What we're saying is just a prediction. It's not certain that the enemies will appear. Perhaps things won't happen as we fear." Liang Yu sighed, "If everything really turns out that way, how wonderful it would be." After Yang Sin Sin finished speaking, Liang Yu intended to ask Zhang Yi for help but hesitated, unsure of what to say. But at this moment, Zhang Yi's voice helped Liang Yu escape the awkward situation. "If Liang Yu is so worried, I will help her find a way." He smiled brightly at Liang Yu. "If one day a real danger occurs nearby, I will temporarily allow your students to take refuge near our shelter." Zhang Yi's promise left Uncle Wang and Chui Lei speechless. Liang Yu also looked at Zhang Yi with wide eyes, unable to believe that these words came from him. In her impression, Zhang Yi was not such a kind person. Not only Liang Yu, but also Chui Lei, Uncle Wang, and Qiran were all very surprised, as if they were seeing Zhang Yi like this for the first time. Only Yang Sin Sin looked at Zhang Yi calmly, with a smile at the corner of her mouth and admiration in her eyes. Zhang Yi noticed Liang Yu's surprised gaze, smiled, and said, "Why are you looking at me like that? You don't really think I'm a cold and rude person, do you?" Liang Yu seemed a bit embarrassed. Though she said nothing, her expression revealed her thoughts. I really do think so." Zhang Yi shook his head. "Perhaps things were indeed like that before, because at that time we were not companions. But now it's different. You are my companion, and you are also my family. Therefore, the people you want to protect, I will definitely help you protect them." Liang Yu's eyes were wet with emotion. Her voice hesitated. "Zhang Yi, I really don't know how to thank you." Liang Yu's face flushed with intense emotion. Zhang Yi smiled and shook his head. "There's no need for formalities. From now on, we just need to unite together, and you only need to devote yourself to everyone's safety." Zhang Yi thought to himself, "As long as you listen obediently from now on, just do as you are told and eliminate whoever I ask you to." Liang Yu nodded resolutely. "I will definitely be able to do it." From then on, Zhang Yi's image in Liang Yu's heart changed completely. She realized she had misunderstood Zhang Yi all this time. She had viewed Zhang Yi as someone solely for personal gain, truly arrogant and biased. Liang Yu's problem was solved, but other issues depended on Zhang Yi's leadership to reach conclusions. Zhang Yi stood up, raised two fingers, and said, "We need to address two urgent issues. First, we must build a solid defense around the Yunqi Villa in preparation for the enemy's arrival. Second, Qiran and I will leave to find the necessary materials for the repairs at our refuge. In addition, no one is allowed to act autonomously or leave the safe zone to avoid encountering hostile forces and causing unnecessary conflicts." Xu Chunlei spoke up, "Yes, I will follow the boss's orders." The meeting concluded, and no one had any objections to Zhang Yi's arrangements. On the warm dining table, there were a variety of rich dishes. Delicious roasted chicken, enticing garlic and sour spicy fish, flavorful braised pork knuckles that were not greasy, along with fragrant goat meat soup that melted in the mouth. These wonderful dishes often appeared on the dining table of Zhang Yi. Zhou Kai called out loudly, "Come here, eat, everyone." As soon as Liang Yu saw the table filled with delicious food, she couldn't believe her eyes. It truly felt like a dream. She never thought she would be able to eat all these delicious dishes in one day. Yang Xin looked at Liang Yu's greedy expression and exclaimed, "It seems Liang Yu is really hungry." When the meal began, Liang Yu couldn't help but eat as if she had never eaten before. Kui Li stared wide-eyed as he saw Liang Yu eating eagerly. This meal made her extremely happy. It had been a long time since she felt such an enjoyable sensation on her tongue. Oh, Liang Yu hugged her stomach, her face pale. She ate too much and finally had to hold her round stomach, feeling a stomach ache. Zhou Kaine suddenly realized and slapped her forehead. "Oh, having eaten poor food before, now your stomach can't handle good food." They usually ate like this, so they did pay attention to Liang Yu while she was eating. Zhou Kaine quickly helped Liang Yu into the room and told her to lie down, then gave her some stomach medicine. "It's okay, just rest for a while and you'll be fine." Liang Yu dozed off for a while. 30 minutes later, she woke up with a sigh. In her heart, her faith in the shelter grew stronger and her mood changed significantly. In just one short day, this feeling was really quite good. After lunch, Yang Mai, along with Zhao Kai and Zhao Haimei, started cleaning together. Zhang Yi noticed that Lu Keiran looked a bit strange. He appeared to be troubled, so he smiled and called her over. "Keiran, is something wrong? I noticed your eyes weren't quite right during lunch." Upon hearing this, Lu Keiran waved her hand. "Boss, it's nothing. I'm fine." Zhang Yi chuckled lightly, flicked her forehead, and said, "Are you still pretending to be mysterious with me? Just say it directly. Remember, we are family and shouldn't hide anything from each other, got it?" After being flicked on the forehead painfully, Lu Keiran realized that she really couldn't hide anything from Zhang Yi. Lu Keiran looked around to make sure no one else was there before feeling reassured to ask, "Boss, why did you agree to protect those students? They are really not good people. They are very wicked. Sin and I lived with them for a while, so we understand them very well." Zhang Yi smiled when he saw Keiran's attitude. In contrast, Lu Keiran looked somewhat sad because her past life with those people haunted her. She said to Zhang Yi, "I know about what happened before, but those people are not good. After the apocalypse, Sin and I have gone through many hardships, being humiliated terribly, so I don't want to see them again and witness their vile faces." Although Lu Keiran usually appeared carefree, she was still a strong and decisive girl. She despised her old classmates and couldn't forget what had happened, let alone think about protecting them. Zhang Yi quietly said, "If you don't care about those students, you think Liang Yu would stay." Lu Keiran frowned and thought, yeah. Based on Liang Yu's personality, she would probably choose to leave the shelter and then protect them or take them to another safe place. Zhang Yi nodded and smiled. "Exactly. Even if I don't care about those students, Liang Yu is very important to us. We need to keep her." "Ah, I get it now. You're doing this to stabilize the situation for Liang Yu, right? But do you plan to take care of them for life?" She grimaced, looking unhappy. "Those disgusting ones don't deserve my care. They're not worthy. Don't worry, it won't take long. The external situation is so harsh that they will sooner or later freeze to death or starve. Moreover, I have made my own preparations," Zhang Yi said with a light smile. He continued, "I have thought about killing the people from the Zhao Yu base and others. Losing a mutant person is a big deal for any force. This also accelerates the contact between the shelter and the outside forces." Zhang Yi sweetly told Liang Yu, if there is danger, he will protect those students. But if conflict arises, he naturally has enough reasons to explain. After all, Yunko Manor and Sujia Town are far apart. Just a little trouble is enough for the outside forces to wipe them all out. Lu Keiran's eyes brightened as she understood Zhang Yi's intentions. "Boss never fails to disappoint me." She wanted to ask more, but Zhang Yi gestured for her to be silent. "There are things that shouldn't be discussed at home. Tomorrow, we will go out to search for materials for the shelter. At that time, I will explain more clearly to you." Even though Liang Yu was resting in her room, she still needed to be cautious. Specific plans shouldn't be discussed at home. Lu Keiran quickly changed the subject. "All right, boss, but where will we go to find materials?" Of course, Zhang Yi had already made calculations in his mind. The young man replied, "There is a materials factory not far away. We can go there and take a look." Upon hearing this, Lu Keiran hurriedly stood up. "All right, then I will arrange the list of materials." Zhang Yi watched Kiran's silhouette and thought to himself, I must be prepared to deal with the bloodthirsty demons out there when they attack me first and also eliminate those useless people. Thinking of this, Zhang Yi sighed. Even if they are from another faction, they are not my servants and cannot be so obedient. I can only wait for fate. In the afternoon, after resting, Zhang Yi began to carry out the tasks. The top priority now is to build a solid defense line. The young man gathered everyone and emphasized that everyone needed to participate in this work, and no one was allowed to be lazy. Liu Keiran had completed the design drawings. The defense line was designed to protect the hiding area and surrounding villas with a circular shape of 500 meters in radius, 20 meters high, and 10 meters thick. The main materials for construction were rebar and ice, as these were the easiest to obtain and the best for defense. Ice has the ability to self-repair in cold weather and can gradually thicken. A layer of ice about 10 meters thick can withstand strong attacks. Zhang Yi assigned specific tasks to each person. Liu Keiran shouted the materials should be transported over here first. The main raw materials used for building the defense line were large blocks of ice, which could be taken directly from the Lujiang River nearby. Chui Li was out of breath and was using superpower to create ice blocks. Zhang Yi quickly moved the large ice blocks from the Lujiang River to the appropriate position. Lan Yu, with the longsword in hand, immediately performed several basic sword moves, and soon the ice block had been processed into a rectangular shape. Uncle Wang is responsible for labor work, using ice bricks and large panels for construction. Liu Keiran observed his blueprints and reminded, Uncle Wang, please pay attention to the joints between the panels, bricks, and steel. All right, everyone, let's work together. Create a joyful atmosphere, even though the temperature has dropped to minus 60 degrees Celsius. Everyone is wearing thermal clothing, and as they move, they feel warm, which is truly a luxury in the apocalypse. After a short time, the blocks of ice have fused together, and the steel rebar, like a skeleton, will be arranged in place, forming an indestructible ice and snow barrier. Within just a few hours, they have built over 100 meters of the fence in its initial form. Thus, they have succeeded in constructing the first line of defense in the suburbs. Although in terms of defense, it is much weaker than other shelters, its existence is mainly for the purpose of defending against surprise enemy attacks, allowing people time to take refuge. While Zhang Yi and his group were busy, he accidentally saw a figure flashing across the other side of the river. He focused his gaze and realized it was a familiar silhouette sneaking by. It seemed to be a student of Liang Yu whom Zhang Yi had encountered before. He wasn't sure, but the face left a certain impression on him. As Zhang Yi observed closely, he discovered quite an interesting sight. The student was sneaking around not alone, but there was a relatively young woman following behind him. Chui Li worked tirelessly for half a day and finally managed to create a lot of ice blocks. He sat huddled on the ice, breathing heavily. Oh, so tired. Zhang Yi continued to observe the man and the girl. The two of them took turns entering the house. The corners of Zhang Yi's mouth slowly curled up, displaying a smile full of delight and cunning. These perverts, no matter the circumstances, will not change their evil nature. Chui Li saw Zhang Yi watching intently and curiously asked, Brother Zhang, what are you looking at? Zhang Yi lowered his binoculars and said casually, Nothing, you should take a break. Zhang Yi quickly walked over to Liang Yu. Liang Yu, take a little break as well. Zhang Yi continued, by the way, I want to apologize to you. Hearing this, Liang Yu became skeptical and looked at Zhang Yi. Apologize for what? Zhang Yi looked at her and earnestly said, In the past, I always thought your students were very selfish, but just now I saw one of your students helping a poor girl. Therefore, I think I should apologize to you. Liang Yu felt very strange. There seemed to be something hidden in Zhang Yi's words, but she could not grasp the meaning behind his statement. Zhang Yi smiled a profound smile and pointed towards Sujia town in Eastern Village. Your student is helping the locals. Liang Yu immediately changed her expression, realizing that her students might be doing something wicked to the elderly and children in Sujia town. As a teacher, she could not ignore her students engaging in such behavior. I'll go there right away. Liang Yu tied her long hair into a ponytail and quickly ran toward the river across. Inside the snow house, Hao Cheng Yu had pulled a wooden board to block the door. These types of snow houses, although built partially underground and well insulated, still had an interior temperature too low for his body to adapt. He looked at the wound in front of him with pale skin and a haggard expression inside. In the past, he always chose the attractive girls in Tianhai City, but due to circumstances, he had to accept other options. Hao Cheng Yu took out half a box of food from his chest pocket and threw it on the bed. The girl gazed at him intently. When the woman saw the food box, her eyes lit up. Hao Cheng Yu placed his hand on the food box and coldly said, Hurry up, I don't have time to wait. The woman unbuttoned her shirt while swallowing, her eyes glued to the food box. Hao Cheng-yu reclined on the wooden bed while the woman slowly crawled toward him. When Liang Yu arrived, Hao Cheng-yu was doing something unacceptable in the room. Outside the snowy house, the noise made Liang Yu blush and feel quite shocked. She couldn't believe that the person in the room was her student, especially in this apocalyptic time. Women in Sujia town had lost their family support, making survival difficult. The woman in the room wasn't doing this out of love for Hao Cheng-yu. It was clear she was being forced or had to use her body in exchange for something. Liang Yu felt a rage that made her tremble. She thought to herself, I let you live here, and this is what you do to the people here. In her anger, Liang Yu kicked the wooden board that was blocking the door. The two people in the room were extremely shocked. Hao Cheng-yu, who was naked on the bed, suddenly turned his head to look outside. Seeing Liang Yu, his complexion immediately turned pale. Teacher Liang, why are you here? Hao Cheng-yu stammered. Liang Yu observed the woman next to Hao Cheng-yu, her expression unchanged and the half-empty lunchbox on the bed, and immediately understood everything. Her mind went blank. The anger and shock were too great for her to know what to think. Her student, who she had protected during the apocalypse, was using the food she had worked hard to earn to do such things. Hao Cheng-yu gritted his teeth, thinking he had been discovered. He would rather tell the truth. Perhaps Liang Yu was soft-hearted enough to forgive him. Miss Liang, I am a young man with my own needs. I hope you can understand that. Moreover, I did not force her. She agreed willingly, right? Just say a word, he said, lightly patting the woman's face. The woman looked blankly at Liang Yu before nodding silently. Even when caught in such a situation, there was no hint of embarrassment in her gaze. Now all she hoped for was to survive. Morality, etiquette, and shame. She had completely forgotten them all. Liang Yu picked up the lunchbox from the bed and looked at Hao Cheng-yu, asking, didn't you say there wasn't enough food? Then why are you doing things like this? After saying this, Liang Yu angrily crushed the lunchbox in her hand. Hao Cheng-yu's expression changed slightly. Of course, he couldn't let Liang Yu know the source of this food. After Liang Yu left, the order among the students became simpler. The strong decided everything. With the advantage of his physique, Hao Cheng-yu gathered some strong students to control the whole group. Thus, he not only had enough food, but also surplus to exchange for the services of women in Xujia town. Hao Cheng-yu gritted his teeth and shouted loudly at Liang Yu. Why can't you just provide food for us? Why do you have to care so much? If you make us go hungry and we have to find a way to survive, then what we do with this food is none of your business, right? Liang Yu felt as if she had been struck by lightning and staggered back a few steps. She felt her heart racing, staring at Hao Cheng-yu, unable to say a word. Hao Cheng-yu pulled the girl into his arms and said calmly, Liang Yu, can you go outside for a bit? You're bothering me too much here. Hao Cheng-yu felt very uncomfortable because of the interruption. Liang Yu closed her eyes, turned her head, and walked outside. She ran quickly, letting the cold wind and snow hit her face, but that cold was nothing compared to the heart inside her. After Liang Yu left, Zhang Yi was at Lujiang, eating some random food with Chui Lai. When he saw Liang Yu walking back with a dazed, lost expression, Zhang Yi smiled mockingly. Indeed, reality is heavy. Liang Yu looked up at Zhang Yi, did not refute, only smiled sadly. Do you think I'm really stupid? Then she answered herself. That's right, I really am quite foolish. Zhang Yi stuffed his hands in his pockets and said nonchalantly, Don't blame me for making you face the harsh reality. I just wanted you to know the truth, but I won't interfere with your next decision. I respect your choice. Liang Yu just shook her head. Her current mood was very chaotic. Her eyes lost focus. She walked past Zhang Yi and Chui Lai, her body slightly trembling, heading towards her shelter. Right now, she just wanted some peace and quiet. Chui Li curiously approached and asked, Zhang, what happened to Liang Yu? What did she see? Zhang Yi looked at him and replied coolly. Her student in Sujia town did that with a woman in exchange for food. If it wasn't due to a threat, then it was an exchange. Chui Li's eyes widened in shock. What? Zhang, you can't possibly be serious. Why not let me see a bit of that? In response to Chui Li's curiosity, Zhang Yi coldly answered, What's the main point of your story? Zhang Yi cunningly added, What if that woman is your sister or cousin? Liang Yu returned to her shelter and locked herself in her room. She began to feel that everything she had done until now seemed to lack meaning. Outside, a sudden knock sounded. Liang Yu, are you okay? Zhang Yi's worried voice came from outside. Liang Yu tried to pull herself together, quickly stood up from the bed and went to open the door. When she opened it, Zhang Yi saw her red eyes as if she had been crying. Liang Yu said to Zhang Yi, I'm sorry, I haven't been feeling well today. I won't give up on the work. She thought Zhang Yi had come to urge her to continue building the defense line, but Zhang Yi shook his head. There's no need to rush. It will be finished in 2 or 3 days. Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu with a gentle tone, slowly saying, I came here because I was worried about you. Zhang Yi's unexpected concern caught Liang Yu slightly off guard. She said, You just rest, I'm fine. Zhang Yi looked into the room and said with a smile, Shall we talk in here? At that moment, Liang Yu became more alert and quickly stepped aside. Please come in, have a seat. Zhang Yu walked into the room, sat on the bed, and said, I know that what happened today has dealt you a heavy shock, but I hope you can look forward. Your future is still very long. If you encounter any difficulties in the future, you can share them with me. At least I can be a good listener. In the weakest moment of a woman's emotions, it is easiest to take advantage and win her over. Zhang Yi is not someone who places love as a top priority, but he does not mind causing women to develop feelings for him. He does not intend to exploit Liang Yu in a despicable way, but wants to use this opportunity to shorten the distance between them, making her more likely to listen to him in the future. Liang Yu asked, Zhang Yi, do you think I have long been a hopeless fool? No. Zhang Yi looked at her for a few seconds before bursting into laughter. It is indeed like that. However, he shifted his words. I believe you have your reasons. Liang Yu looked up at the ceiling, her gaze gradually becoming dreamy. I started practicing martial arts when I was 3 years old. Even though I am a woman, I am no less skilled than any man in martial arts. As we soldiers often have 2 career paths, either transitioning to become movie stars or opening teaching classes. But I did not want to just be a pretty face of the entertainment industry, nor do I have resources in that field. Opening a teaching class, my identity as a woman became a significant obstacle. Therefore, later, I chose a less popular path among soldiers, which is to become a bodyguard. Zhang Yi asked, So then you joined that organization and became the top elite bodyguard in the country. Mentioning the past, Liang Yu smiled. Yes, that was the most glorious period, as well as the most challenging phase of my life. After a few years, Tian King School invited me to be a physical education professor, teaching self-defense skills to their noble descendants. They paid me a quite high salary. It's just a pity that it is only a thing of the past. She was silent for a long time, finally speaking slowly. After that, the apocalypse came and we lost everything. Family, friends, status, honor, wealth. I have almost nothing left. The only thing that remains with me is the responsibility to protect my students. She remained silent for a long while, then continued to repeat once more. After that, the apocalyptic disaster came and we lost everything. Family, friends, status, honor, wealth. I have almost nothing left. The only thing that remains with me is the responsibility to protect the students. This has helped me continue to live until today. That is my mission, though not very strong that I feel. I know, with your way of acting, you must think I am very foolish. She continued, I have thought about living more selfishly at times, but if I abandon my last belief, I don't even know what I am living for in this world. As Liang Yu spoke, tears slowly rolled down her cheeks. Hearing those words, Zhang Yi began to understand her better. Since the apocalypse began, he had encountered many people who could not accept the harsh reality and chose to end their lives. Perhaps in their eyes, the world had become a hell and life was only left with suffering. The mental torment was even more painful than corporal punishment. Zhang Yi asked her, Are you putting too much pressure on yourself sometimes? He spoke kindly. You have gone through a lot, but now is not like before. We are teammates, we are family. Everyone in the shelter is an adult. They can understand and be tolerant of you, unlike those naive, unruly children. Zhang Yi slowly approached Liang Yu and suddenly took her hand. Liang Yu's body trembled. She felt confused. If you need a spiritual support from now on, let us become that support for you. Liang Yu's small face immediately turned red. Although she was 27 years old, due to her work, she had never been in a relationship, not even held hands with the opposite sex. Moreover, Zhang Yi looked very stylish. At that moment, he was looking at her deeply, holding her hand, making her head spin. Liang Yu murmured, Become my spiritual support. If you don't have spiritual support, then establish a new one. If you don't have social connections, we become your bond. Don't put yourself through such exhaustion. It will hurt me. At this point, blood seemed to rush to Liang Yu's brain. This was the first time a man spoke so candidly to her, making her feel uncomfortable, but she had to admit that these words were very effective. Liang Yu's cheeks were flushed as if she were about to bleed. Although she had no feelings for Zhang Yi yet, through this confession, her feelings for him had increased significantly. Thank you, I feel much better now. Liang Yu shyly withdrew her hand, lowered her head, and looked around, not daring to meet Zhang Yi's gaze. Are you feeling any better now? Zhang Yi asked. Liang Yu was silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. Having someone to share with is really much better. However, I still feel disappointed in them. Liang Yu recalled Hao Cheng Yu's actions and couldn't help but frown. Perhaps they need to mature more. Zhang Yi didn't think much of those students. He knew it was unrealistic for Liang Yu to give up on them immediately. Thinking that, he stood up and left. Zhang Yi quietly considered that what he needed to do was gradually lessen their importance in Liang Yu's heart. That way, if one day they suddenly disappeared, Liang Yu wouldn't feel too emotional about it. As he stepped down the stairs, he saw Yang Xinxin sitting in a wheelchair, smiling at him. "Boss, have you managed to win over Liang Yu?" Hearing Yang Xinxin's words, Zhang Yi just shrugged and laughed. "That's quite accurate, but I'm not very interested in Liang Yu." Yang Xinxin tilted her head in confusion. "Liang Yu is also a beauty. Aren't you interested, boss?" "It's hard to understand." Zhang Yi admitted, "She's beautiful, but a bit troublesome. I hate troubles the most." Still, perhaps deep down, Zhang Yi thought differently. After dealing with her troublesome students, he could consider moving further in his relationship with Liang Yu. But anyway, his view on love remained quite indifferent, seeing it as a form of entertainment, not too important. Zhang Yi leaned down and whispered in Xin Xin's ear, "I don't understand what the good is about those students that she risks everything to trade food brought from Sujia. Those kids really do disgusting things." Zhang Yi calmly said, "I have played the role of the villain. Now it's your turn to be the good one. It's best to let Liang Yu completely lose hope in them. Only then can I deal with them easily without worrying about the consequences." Zhang Yi could speak freely with Xin Xin without fear of being betrayed, because from the beginning at Tian King's school, Yang Xin had used Hoa Hoa to kill students, causing many to die. Yang Xin smirked. "All right, I have to help my boss anyway, right?" With that, Yang Xin maneuvered her wheelchair towards Liang Yu's room. Zhang Yi thought to himself, after this, Liang Yu's attitude towards those students would definitely not be the same as before. Cut to the next day. Uncle Wang asked Zhang Yi, "Do you want us to go with you? It won't be safe for you alone if you run into enemies." Zhang Yi shook his head. "No need, having Hoa Hoa is enough. You all stay here and continue to build a defense line. The house needs someone to watch over it." He left with Hoa Hoa, the two of them working together perfectly. For the first time going out with Zhang Yi, Lu Keiran felt very excited, her small face flushed with happiness. Zhang Yi took out an advanced combat uniform from the Xaishan base intended for Lu Keiran. He said, "This piece of gear is not only effective against bullets, but also very good for keeping warm." Suddenly, she became serious and greeted Zhang Yi formally. "Lower-class soldier Keiran is ready for battle. Please give your orders." Zhang Yi, noticing her adorable and lively demeanor, couldn't help but pinch her nose lightly and laughed. "You are indeed mischievous." Lu Keiran stuck out her tongue and excitedly said, "When I wear this outfit, I feel so stylish." Zhang Yi nodded. Clothes always create an illusion for the wearer, especially for women. Lu Keiran was taken aback, then quickly realized that Zhang Yi was teasing her. She puffed up her cheeks and lightly hit his shoulder. "Ha! What are you saying, boss?" After a moment of playful banter to relieve stress, Zhang Yi returned to the main topic. "All right, let's get going. The outside circumstances are unpredictable. We should leave early and come back early. Don't dilly-dally." Zhang Yi thought for a moment and then took out a pistol, handing it to Lu Keiran. "I'm sure you'll like this." Lu Keiran, who had gun-making skills, certainly knew how to use it. Sure enough, her eyes brightened, and she immediately accepted the gun and put it in her side bag. The two left the shelter. Zhang Yi took out the snowmobile and took her to the Hong Yuan Group factory in Lujiang District, which is famous in Tiananhai City. The Xaishan and Lujiang districts are located in the southwest of the city, a certain distance from the center, where many industrial companies are concentrated. Hong Yuan Group is the largest and most famous building materials company in Tiananhai, not only in Tiananhai, but also nationally. The group has always maintained cooperative relationships with foreign companies and provides top-of-the-line luxury building materials worldwide. Zhang Yi chose this company because it is quite close to their Xaishan base. Lu Keiran hesitated, biting her lip, and after a long time finally spoke up to ask about the issue that she had been curious about for a long time. "Boss, regarding yesterday's issue, can you explain it to me in more detail?" Lu Keiran has always been straightforward with her thoughts. Now that she found the opportunity, she quickly asked Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi looked at her, smiled, and asked, "It seems you don't really like your classmates, do you?" Lu Keiran did not deny it and seriously nodded. Those people have been too much with Xin before. She paused for a moment and then continued, "They don't treat you well either. I really don't want to see them, and I definitely don't want to live with them." Zhang Yi looked at Keiran, silently thinking. Lu Keiran's impulsive personality might accidentally reveal this matter. If Liang Yu found out, the relationship between the two might be affected. He didn't want internal conflict with those around him, so he decided to change his wording. Don't worry, I hate them a lot too. I won't let them disturb our peaceful life. Let those bastards live on the other side of the river. With their abilities, starving or freezing to death is just a matter of time. Besides, who knows, one day we might clash with another force and they might accidentally run into trouble. Zhang Yi shrugged. Of course, I promised Liang Yu that I wouldn't harm them, so we just have to see if they're lucky. Liu Keiran understood Zhang Yi's attitude and felt relieved. That's good then. However, she worriedly asked, Boss, Liang Yu is a very kind woman. If they are in danger, will Liang Yu bring them to our shelter? Zhang Yi smiled nonchalantly. Now it is the apocalypse, human lives are no longer precious. It is normal for anyone to die. Even though I promised Liang Yu to help protect her students, if it cannot be done, she must understand. After saying that, Zhang Yi suddenly pinched Liu Keiran's nose lightly. At that time, we will see how you and Yang Xin react. Liang Yu cares deeply for her students. If I cannot persuade her, then you both should try your best. Liu Keiran's face turned red. I understand what the boss means. Boss, you want me and Xin to convince Liang Yu, right? Zhang Yi said. Liang Yu is a determined woman like that, pursuing a commitment to her spirit in this apocalypse. She needs to seek her sense of existence by protecting others. This spirit is something she has entrusted to her students. It seems she does not truly care for her students that much. She just wants to prove that her existence has meaning and that she is needed by others. Compared to the useless children in Sujia town, you and Xin are definitely favored by Liang Yu. So how to win her affection and make her like you a little more? I don't need to say much, right, Liu Keiran? The scene shifts to the Hong Yuan Group's factory. Currently, Zhang Yi is trying to avoid any contact with other forces. However, as he drives to the Hong Yuan Group factory, he notices 3 vehicles parked on the snow from a distance. What kind of vehicles are those? Zhang Yi's first reaction is to stop the car at a distance. He then takes out his binoculars to observe. Through this observation, he realizes that the 3 vehicles are not ordinary snowmobiles, but modified off-road vehicles converted into combat vehicles. In addition to being fitted with steel plates and machine guns on the body, the lower part is equipped with tracks and snowboards. However, the steel plates do not seem too thick. They appear to be designed to reduce weight. Zhang Yi expresses skepticism. Can this strange contraption actually run? Liu Keiran, curious, approaches and asks, Boss, what do you see? Zhang Yi hands her the binoculars so she can see for herself. After observing, Liu Keiran cannot help but curse. What the hell is this? It truly looks like a mess that makes one want to gouge their eyes out. Zhang Yi leaned back in his chair. The space door opened right in front of him, ready to defend if anyone opened fire. He sighed. In the end, I underestimated their efficiency. These people had moved in from the border into the territory of the Xishan base. The destroyed Xishan base had attracted the attention of another force. They certainly wanted to seize most of the benefits from this area. In the Lujiang area, the greatest value lay in some important materials and machinery of the factory. Zhang Yi hesitated. Right now, he didn't want a conflict with any forces. However, he urgently needed to repair his shelter, so he had to find the necessary materials. Kill them. Zhang Yi wondered. He didn't even know who they were or what their strength was. Acting hastily was not his usual style. Liu Keiran excitedly said, Boss, the renovation cost of these vehicles is too high compared to their effectiveness. Even though they can move on snow, their maximum speed doesn't exceed 20 kilometers/a. Additionally, the crude modification process makes them consume fuel several times more than snowmobiles. If calculated, they are really wasting fuel. They go with 3 vehicles at the same time. It's like throwing money out of the window. An idea flashed in Zhang Yi's mind. Wait, you say these vehicles consume an enormous amount of fuel, right? Liu Keiran put down the binoculars with a sneer. Yes, these vehicles are heavier than snowmobiles and the modifications increase the weight and the renovation isn't good. So the fuel consumption is at least 5 times that of our vehicles. Zhang Yi's eyes suddenly lit up. In the past, the Xishan base did not dare to use snowmobiles because harvesting gasoline was quite difficult. However, their extravagant use could only be a result of a powerful force. Among the 4 major forces, the Yangsheng base holds the oil refinery in Tianhai City. Liu Keiran also thought like Zhang Yi. Is it them? The Yangsheng base is over 200 kilometers away, beyond the entire Tianhai City. I didn't expect them to come here. They are really too hasty. However, they have the oil refinery and abundant energy, so they can indeed waste it like this. Zhang Yi identified these people and contemplated how to handle the situation. Now that things had come to this point, he could not return empty-handed. He planned to negotiate with them. If he could peacefully obtain the supplies he needed, that would be ideal. If he could not persuade them, he would not hesitate to use force. Kiran, there may be a conflict. You should prepare yourself mentally, Zhang Yi said coldly as he steered the snowmobile forward. Liu Keiran swallowed hard, her eyes filled with excitement. She was genuinely thrilled because this would be her first time witnessing Zhang Yi in a fight. Zhang Yi drove his vehicle closer to the modified snowmobiles. Their appearance had attracted the attention of the Yangsheng base's personnel. When they approached, there were about 5 or 6 people gathered next to the car, pointing their guns at them. A man with a thick beard and dense hair shouted, "Stop! This area is controlled by us, Yangsheng base. What faction are you from? Go elsewhere." Zhang Yi remained vigilant and activated his superpower, increasing his speed 4-fold. He was ready to kill the entire group immediately if they made any move like pulling the trigger. Zhang Yi told Liu Keiran, "Stay in the car and don't move." Zhang Yi noticed that the weapons in their hands were only conventional guns, which couldn't harm him with the improved defense of the vehicle, so he felt reassured to step out of the car. The cat, Hoba Hoa, with its tail standing straight, proudly followed Zhang Yi's footsteps. He raised his hands gently and said to the group in front of him, "Don't misunderstand. I mean no harm. I don't care if you arrived at this factory before me. I just need some materials. I hope you can help." However, when the people from Yangsheng base saw him wearing the combat uniform of Xishan base, their expressions became more serious. "Weren't we told that Xishan base was destroyed?" One of the Yangsheng base members said to each other. "They could be the remaining ones. With the number of people in Xishan, it's impossible that all of them are dead. Fortunately, they would seem to be from other factions. Otherwise, we would be in more trouble. Anyway, his vehicle is quite impressive." This group had begun to pay attention to Zhang Yi's snowmobile. A cautious person whispered, "Don't underestimate and act hastily. Do you really think someone who can drive such a good vehicle is just an ordinary person?" His eyes displayed concern, especially when Zhang Yi faced many people without showing any fear. "This person is definitely difficult to deal with," informed the captain. One person contacted the captain through the communicator, while another shouted loudly at Zhang Yi, "Wait for our captain to arrive. We will talk later." A gentle smile appeared on Zhang Yi's face, but in reality, he was very alert. "All right, I will wait." He looked toward the factory, where someone was using a method similar to his earlier from the rooftop to check inside. After a while, someone came out from the rooftop. A tall man with a goatee stepped out. He wore combat clothing, but on his shoulder was a dark red emblem shaped like a flame. This indicated that he was a high-ranking captain of the Yangsheng base. Zhang Yi thought to himself, even if he doesn't have superpowers, he is definitely a powerful character. Zhang Yi was ready to assess the situation. When the captain of the Yangsheng base saw Zhang Yi, his gaze was sharp like a hawk's. In this apocalyptic world, any stranger could become an enemy, and no one dared to let their guard down. The captain of Yangsheng base looked at Zhang Yi intently, but only saw a car, 2 people, and a cat. He had more than a dozen strong men, so he felt quite confident. "Who are you?" "From Xishan base," the captain asked. Zhang Yi smiled slightly. "I'm the captain of the Special Forces team of Xishan base, Zhang Beihai." Zhang Yi did not reveal his face, so the other party did not know what he looked like. He used the name of Xishan base because it was more powerful than revealing his true identity. Furthermore, the other party only knew that Xishan base was no longer in existence, but could not assess their remaining strength. Xishan base, one of the 4 strongest armed bases, would surely be feared by other bases. Indeed, when Gao Yuan heard Zhang Yi's self-introduction, his expression became more serious. "So you are the captain of Xishan base. No wonder you dare to come here alone." Gao Yuan seemed skeptical, his attitude not very friendly. "Did you come here to drive us away? Don't blame me if I don't warn you. The main base of Xishan has been defeated, and the remaining forces of yours are not enough to resist my Yangsheng base, so don't have any dangerous intentions." Gao Yuan believes that Zhang Yi is from the Xishan base. After all, this type of combat uniform was previously manufactured uniformly by the military, and only the 4 major bases have access to it. It is very difficult for outsiders to replicate. In an apocalyptic situation, no one could have imagined such conditions. When Zhang Yi saw that the opponent did not believe him, he calmly replied, "It's just a material workshop. If you at the Yangsheng base like, you can take as much as you want. But right now, we also need to take some materials, and we hope you won't impede us." After hearing Zhang Yi's words, Gao Yuan showed a hesitant expression. They had been ordered to go to the Lujiang base to seize important material resources, but unexpectedly encountered the remaining forces of the Xishan base. However, Zhang Yi was right. It would be too difficult to possess such a large factory alone. They also did not need too many construction materials. After some thought, Gao Yuan said to Zhang Yi, "Okay, but I will only give you half an hour." Zhang Yi waved at the vehicle, signaling for Liu Keiran to get out and go with him. Finding materials required Liu Keiran to distinguish them, and Zhang Yi had to ensure her safety by keeping her by his side. Gao Yuan signaled his subordinates with a few gestures, and they understood, making way for Zhang Yi to pass through. Liu Keiran was both nervous and excited as she quickly ran towards Zhang Yi. For safety reasons, Zhang Yi decided to pull Liu Keiran into his arms. The sudden warmth made Liu Keiran's heart race, to the point that even in the freezing cold of -60 degrees, it made her blush. Zhang Yi calmly told Liu Keiran, "Let's go." Liu Keiran was worried about the snowmobile, afraid that it would be taken by the Yangsheng base's people. "What about our vehicle? Can't we get back?" "It's all right. They can't take it away," Zhang Yi whispered, not offering further explanation. He always kept his powers secret from others. His superpower was his strength, but also his greatest weakness. Since he killed Lang Feng, this had become an unchangeable rule in his heart. Liu Keiran bit her lip and ultimately followed Zhang Yi towards the factory. Kuo Hua, with her cat-like footsteps, followed closely behind them, looking incredibly proud. Despite walking in the harsh cold, she seemed entirely unfazed by the chill. As Zhang Yi and Liu Keiran slowly made their way to the factory, Gao Yuan suddenly widened his eyes from behind. His right hand quickly drew his gun and aimed straight at Zhang Yi. As soon as Gao Yuan fired, the eyes of Zhang Yi and Huo Hua lit up. "Be careful behind you." Zhang Yi never neglects his back when near strangers, even though he turned his back to Gao Yuan and the others. With the spatial superpower he possessed, he was extremely sensitive to any spatial fluctuations. Since absorbing the abilities of Lang Feng and the members of the Special Forces team with superpowers, Zhang Yi's intuition had also become stronger. Therefore, under heightened vigilance, when the intent to kill from those people emerged, Zhang Yi immediately opened the spatial door behind him. At the same time, Huo Hua's body swelled up like a giant balloon standing in front of Zhang Yi and Liu Keiran. Kuo Hua opened its mouth and howled, countless bullets raining down, all stopping on its tough fur. After the previous battle, Huo Hua had also absorbed the abilities of several mutant persons, significantly increasing its combat power. Now facing bullets like these, it regarded them as a mere joke. The people from the Yangsheng base were stunned. They had never witnessed a mutated creature like this. "What? What is this?" one person asked. "It's a monster," another quickly replied. Gao Yuan was startled for a moment, but he quickly reacted. He drew his gun, aimed directly at Huo Hua's eyes, and ordered the others to shoot at it. Gao Yuan drew his gun very professionally, and all 3 shots were aimed straight at Huo Hua's eyes. He was clearly someone who had received professional training and possessed advanced combat skills. Huo Hua showed anger, lifting its head and blocking the bullets that were coming towards them. Huo Hua quickly lunged straight towards the group at the Yangsheng base. Zhang Yi did not take action. Instead, he shielded Liu Keiran, who was in front of him. He had to protect her while creating an opportunity for Huo Hua to attack, all while observing the combat capabilities of this group, especially to see if they were mutant persons. Although Huo Hua did not feel much pain, it still appeared uncomfortable, charging forward and biting into the torso of one person. The others panicked and hurriedly ran in all directions. Then they all performed the same action, pulling out a metal syringe from their bodies and stabbing it forcefully into themselves. Zhang Yi frowned. Their actions reminded him of when he injected stimulants during the attack on the Xishan base. It seemed that this was also a type of drug that could enhance combat capability. Indeed, after injecting the drug, strange red veins appeared on their bodies. Huo Hua roared loudly and charged forward. Its sharp claws were revealed, dazzling like snow and sharp as a blade. The others quickly dodged, and it was clear that their speed had increased several times. Unfortunately, their opponent was not a human, but a species known for its speed and agility in the cat family. In terms of equal stature, cats have almost no rivals. For humans, even with the use of performance-enhancing drugs, they could not surpass them in speed. With its large claws, Huo Hua easily dealt with 3 people. However, Zhang Yi quickly realized the opponent's strategy. Some of the group were tasked with luring Huo Hua, while team leader Gao Yuan led 5 others to ambush. Although Gao Yuan's group was behind him, Zhang Yi could still sense it. The silver pistol in Gao Yuan's hand suddenly shone brightly, and a blazing bullet shot towards Zhang Yi. Is this his superpower? Zhang Yi thought to himself. Even from a distance, he immediately sensed the power contained in that bullet. However, for him, unless it was an attack exceeding the highest energy limit that his space could withstand, no weapon bullet meant anything to him. Bang! Bang! All 5 bullets disappeared 3 meters away from Zhang Yi, as if they had never been fired. Gao Yuan immediately realized the situation. What? Are you also a mutant person? Even if he had time to regret, he had no time to escape. Zhang Yi raised both hands, and a golden gun appeared from thin air. Let you see my power, he gently told Liu Keiran. Cover your ears. Liu Keiran followed the order to cover her ears, looking up at Zhang Yi, who still maintained his usual calm demeanor. Zhang Yi quickly drew his pistol and began firing rapidly at the five of them. Bang, bang, bang! When Gao Yuan and his teammates saw Zhang Yi draw his gun, they instinctively ducked for cover. Gao Yuan shouted loudly, "Split up!" However, even though they skillfully avoided based on their combat experience, the 5 bullets from Zhang Yi's gun seemed to be able to block them. The bullets moved in bizarre and precise trajectories, hitting each person in the forehead. All 5, including team leader Gao Yuan, fell to the ground motionless. In their moment of death, their faces were still filled with confusion and disbelief. Even though they were seasoned fighters, they were shot dead with precision, despite being ready to defend. Before falling, Gao Yuan still could not understand why the bullet had changed direction in the air. If Zhang Yi had aimed at someone, then unless that person could move faster than the bullet, it would be useless to try to dodge. Liu Keiran saw Zhang Yi cleanly eliminate 5 gunmen, admiration in her eyes about to overflow. The boss is really too handsome. Not far away, Hua Hua also quickly ended the fight, catching a few of them in her mouth, chewing a few times before she couldn't help but vomit. Zhang Yi mumbled, "This is what you forced me to do." Zhang Yi looked around at the pile of corpses, helplessly sighing. The tree wants to be quiet, but the wind won't stop. I am clearly a person who believes in peace, so why do I always have to kill? He was not afraid of the Yangsheng base. Provoking both the Yangsheng base and the Zhao Yu base at the same time would give him a headache if they teamed up to attack. It was not out of fear, but rather annoyance. After all, if he had to kill, the other side kept coming at him, he could not indulge them. Liu Keiran stood behind, constantly praising Zhang Yi. "Boss, you are really amazing. So many people, and you didn't even touch your clothes, and they all died." Zhang Yi bent down and began to check Gao Yuan's body. While examining him, he said to Liu Keiran, "Although I am not a martial artist, after absorbing so much strange power, I am not bragging. I am very strong now." Liu Keiran observed Zhang Yi carefully searching Gao Yuan's body and asked curiously, "Boss, what are you doing?" Zhang Yi replied, looking for something. After a while of searching, Zhang Yi finally found what he wanted in Gao Yuan's coat pocket. It was a disposable metal syringe with a dark red liquid visible inside. "Is this the stimulant used by the Yangsheng base? It feels stronger than what kind he gave me," Zhang Yi said. In terms of the drug's effectiveness, it was indeed very potent. It had the ability to grant ordinary people extraordinary strength, even comparable to those who have been augmented at the Taishan base. Additionally, from the usage patterns of those of the Yangsheng base, it seemed that the drug did not require specific physical conditions. Ordinary people could also use it. Zhang Yi put the drug away, intending to take it back for Zhou Kai Ni to analyze. This drug could potentially save lives at a critical moment. Then Zhang Yi examined each corpse one by one. However, unfortunately, apart from the 2 vials on Gao Yuan, the others only had 1 vial which had already been used up. Fortunately, there were 2 people who had not yet used the drug before being bitten to death by Hua Hua, allowing Zhang Yi to collect 2 more vials. Zhang Yi has collected all the information and equipment of these individuals. Unlike the phone that Zhang Yi uses, they carry a satellite phone when going out. This device is much heavier than a regular mobile phone, resembling a brick, but it has all the functions of a mobile phone and even provides information more efficiently than before. Zhang Yi plans to copy the data from the phone after returning and then analyze the intelligence information from the Yangsheng base. Next, he gathers the body parts from the ground into the superpower space. Even though the conflict has erupted, the Yangsheng base cannot ignore the fact that a mutant person and more than 10 of their people have died, but delaying a little time for them to discover the truth tonight is not a problem. At least Zhang Yi needs more time to perfect the defensive system around the Yunkui estate hideout. After finishing up, Zhang Yi also cleans the scene, including the snowmobiles used by the Yangsheng base. He retrieves them, not because he needs them, but to prevent them from falling into the hands of others. The bloodstains on the ground are also cleared by him, ensuring that no one discovers that a deadly battle took place here. Throughout this process, Zhang Yi acts calmly and without haste. Liu Keiran followed and asked Zhang Yi, "Boss, won't anyone come to support us?" Zhang Yi calmly replied, "The Yangsheng base is over 200 kilometers away. Even if they have a lot of people and abundant fuel resources to fight at such a distance, they will definitely need to retain a large defensive force. This is just a materials depot, not heavily fortified with military forces. It's not worth starting a big conflict over this." Zhang Yi began to absorb Gao Yuan's superpower. He really didn't expect that Gao Yuan's superpower was not strong, even weaker than a special operations team leader from Taishan. Given Zhang Yi's current state, absorbing Gao Yuan's superpower didn't bring a sense of satisfaction. it could only be considered a light snack. For Zhang Yi, this low-level mutant person was not much different from an ordinary person. He could kill him with just a wave of his hand. Zhang Yi said casually, "Let's go find the materials you mentioned. After we return and repair the shelter, we need to prepare for the next potential outbreak of conflict." Liu Keiran closely followed Zhang Yi's footsteps. Zhang Yi didn't need to climb the wall. He simply ordered Hua Hua, "Go ahead and clear the way." Hua Hua heard the command to move forward and began to act with its gigantic body. Hua Hua charged straight towards the wall. In no time, it had knocked a large hole in the wall. Then Zhang Yi and Keiran stepped into the material storage room through that hole. Zhang Yi did not understand anything about the materials related to repairs and shelters because he had never studied them in college. Therefore, he followed Keiran, who chose the necessary materials, and Zhang Yi would collect them into his superpower space. He took everything that was necessary, leaving nothing for others. As Zhang Yi collected the materials into the strange space, he thought to himself, "If the factory is not too large and to save time, I would really want to move the entire material storage room." After half an hour, they had gathered a lot and left the factory. Zhang Yi drove, while the two of them and a cat left in a majestic manner without looking back, heading towards the Yunque estate. Zhang Yi sighed in relief while driving and said, "The war game is about to start again." Zhang Yi blinked suddenly and came up with an idea. "Since we've come this far, why not use the enemy to solve all the troubles in Sujia town?" He glanced at Liu Keiran beside him, but did not reveal his plan to her. However, he had a plan in mind to draw the enemy's attention to Sujia town. Zhang Yi and Liu Keiran were on their way back to Yunque Manor. At this point, he had realized that other forces were starting to encroach on the old territory of the Xishan base. Encountering Gao Yuan at the material warehouse was not surprising to him. If nothing unexpected happened, he would currently discover the presence of some significant forces when he went to the Xishan and Lujiang areas, where other important supplies were stored. Zhang Yi's continuous elimination of members from the Zhaoyu base and the Yangsheng base also meant that war was about to begin. The only difference was when they would discover that the one who had taken action was Zhang Yi and would attack him. During this limited time and scope, he reminded himself to prepare everything really well. On the way back, Zhang Yi told Liu Keiran about the incident today. "We encountered members of the Yangsheng base. For now, don't let anyone else know." Liu Keiran was a bit surprised and immediately asked, "Why not? If we don't inform everyone about the impending danger, how can they prepare? This is something I need to keep to myself for now." Zhang Yi said seriously, "I promise to urge everyone to speed up the construction of the defensive line and not to allow them to leave the shelter casually. But this matter cannot be shared with them for the time being. I don't want to create an unnecessary crisis, do you understand? When I feel it's time to inform everyone, I will speak up myself." Zhang Yi looked intently at Liu Keiran, his gaze calm, yet containing the strength of reliable honesty. Liu Keiran fell silent for a moment before gently nodding. Although she didn't know Zhang Yi's specific purpose, her heart was always with him. She fully supported Zhang Yi's decision. Liu Keiran said with a sweet smile, "I understand now. Surely you, Zhang Yi, are doing this for the benefit of everyone, right?" Zhang Yi smiled and gently stroked her hair. "As long as you understand, that's enough. I'm doing this for you and everyone else." These words made Liu Keiran's heart race faster. Indeed, Zhang Yi never harmed her. She would strictly follow any orders from Zhang Yi. As Zhang Yi drove, his eyes flashed with an unusual expression. He concealed this news not only from everyone, but also from Liang Yu. Zhang Yi intended to use the power of two major forces to thoroughly handle the students from Sujia town. Therefore, he had to make Liang Yu believe that the danger would not come in the near future. For safety reasons, the best method was to ensure no one knew a conflict had occurred. When Zhang Yi and Liu Keiran returned to the shelter, they could see from afar that the tall ice wall had been more than half completed, with a thickness of 10 meters. The wall was built from 2 layers of large ice blocks, secured with an internal steel frame, making destruction more difficult. This was just the first defensive measure. While building the ice wall, Liang Yu and Uncle Wine created bullet holes in the ice blocks using steel panels. They could then place a large number of machine guns, traps, tanks, and artillery on it, turning it into a dense fire net. When Zhang Yi and Liu Keiran got out of the car, Zhang Yi, with a warm smile on his face, approached them. Uncle Wine asked, "How is it? Is the material gathering going smoothly? Are there any obstacles or suspicious characters?" Zhang Yi smiled gently. "It's going very well. No obstacles on the way. I've told you right now other forces are busy stabilizing your territories. They don't have time to siege resources here." Liu Keiran said nothing, just gently followed behind Zhang Yi. Seeing this, Liang Yu showed a look of relief on her face. "It's good that everything is fine. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know what to do." She was worried about the safety of the students, but this time Zhang Yi had an unusual attitude. Your worries are not without basis. Although I feel there is currently no danger, thorough preparation is always necessary. Zhang Yi glanced at Lu Keiran standing beside him, then stepped in front of Liang Yu and quietly said, "However, Liang Yu, I wouldn't hesitate to move your students to safety when danger arises. But with Sim Sin and Keiran here, I really have no solution. After all, conflict between them cannot be resolved in just a day or two. It's unfair to have them live under one roof." Zhang Yi was determined to change this perspective because he knew the danger in Sujia town would soon return. If he insisted there was no danger, Liang Yu might blame him in the future. Therefore, it was better to focus the conflict on the Sujia town students, Yang Xin and Lu Qiran. Both are Liang Yu's students, so how could she be biased toward one side? Indeed, after listening to Zhang Yi's analysis, Liang Yu couldn't help but hesitate. In her heart, she was sure she would grow closer to Yang Xin and Lu Qiran. After all, they were excellent students and had been living harmoniously together in recent days, unlike the students from Sujia town who only brought her trouble. Liang Yu hesitated. Your words are not wrong. Your opinions are reasonable, but at this moment, Zhang Yi gestured to Qiran. Seeing this, she understood it was time for her to take action. Lu Qiran stepped forward, looking at Liang Yu with eyes full of sadness. "Liang Yu, why must we allow them to be close to us? When Sin and I see them, we remember our days at Tian King School. During that time, did you know how cruel they were to us?" Seeing the pained expression on Lu Qiran's face, Liang Yu couldn't help but feel regret. In the past, she knew there were students who were bullied and excluded, but at that time, she was too busy and tired dealing with Hoa to pay attention to those issues. Looking back now, she realized she truly had not cared for Yang Xin and Lu Qiran enough. Now Liang Yu could find shelter thanks to the help and support of Yang Xin and Lu Qiran. Moreover, living together daily definitely strengthened their bond much more than with other students. Therefore, when she heard Lu Qiran weeping, Liang Yu also felt heartbroken. "I don't want to do this either. If they can stand on their own and survive in the apocalypse, that would be the best. But now, it is clear that there are external factors at play. If they were to be harmed right before our eyes, we would not be able to forgive ourselves." Hearing Liang Yu speak, Zhang Yi thought to himself. Liang Yu was looking for a reasonable explanation to justify abandoning those students, a reason that she could accept in her mind. This was something that only Liang Yu needed. If it were someone else, Zhang Yi would not want to waste time with them. But he did not want to give up on her, a person with strong abilities who could become a martial arts expert for him. Then, Zhang Yi chose to act as a mediator. "We should discuss this right now. He ran. We need to fix the outer wall of the shelter immediately. You should go prepare the necessary materials." Zhang Yi deliberately changed the subject and did not give Liang Yu the opportunity to continue the conversation, because if the discussion continued, things could develop in a direction he did not want. Zhang Yi pushed Lu Qiran along while sending a "don't worry" glance to Liang Yu. Liang Yu felt warmth in her heart. She was grateful that Zhang Yi could understand her difficult situation. Zhang Yi and Lu Qiran went to the workspace to gather all the materials. Zhang Yi asked Qiran, "How long will it take to process these materials and then repair the shelter?" Qiran thought for a moment and replied, "If we just consider the quality of work without caring about aesthetics, the repair of the outer wall could be completed in about 2 to 3 days. The hardest part of the repair is ensuring that no traces are left, making sure others do not realize that the wall was ever damaged." Zhang Yi waved his hand. "I only care about the solidity of the walls. Everything else is unimportant." Lu Qiran replied, "Okay, I understand." Then she prepared to get started on the task by herself. Zhang Yi asked, "Can you do it alone? With such a large amount of materials, even a grown man would find it troublesome." Lu Qiran blinked and smiled. "Boss, everyone is busy. I can take a bit longer on my own, but it definitely won't affect the quality." Zhang Yi said, "And everyone needs to build the defensive perimeter outside. They can't help you." This Lu Qiran understood very well. Zhang Yi put his hands in his pockets, thinking about a few people. He smiled and said, "Let me call Yang Mai and the other girls to help you. The girls in the house can't contribute much outside. They should pitch in as well." Lu Qiran laughed and said, "Their strength is too weak. Doing these small tasks isn't enough." Zhang Yi sighed, reaching out to lightly pinch her small, cute face and said, "Sometimes don't forget that you are also a girl. If you can do it, why can't they?" Lu Qiran's face turned red as she nodded. "Then let them help me transport some materials." Zhang Yi nodded and turned to look for Yang Mai and the other girls. There wasn't much for them to do in the house anymore. Upon hearing Zhang Yi assign the task, Zhao Kai-ni and Yang Mind both came to help Lu Qiran. Everyone inside and outside the room was busy nonstop. Zhang Yi quickly assessed the situation. The ideal scenario was to complete the exterior and build a solid fire support line within 3 days. At that point, with a large amount of weaponry, Zhang Yi could face 2 military bases without falling short. Moreover, the distance from Yangsheng base and Zhao Yu base to this place was at least over 100 kilometers. Having to cover such a long distance would surely reduce their combat effectiveness. Even though facing 1 against 2, the advantage was still on our side. Zhang Yi felt a little more at ease. At least he wasn't worried about the imminent battle. He went to Yang Xin-Xin's room and knocked on the door. "Xin-Xin, it's me. Boss, wait a moment." The sweet voice of Yang Xin-Xin came from inside the room. The door opened from within, revealing Yang Xin-Xin in a light yellow dress, looking at Zhang Yi with a pure and innocent expression. "Boss, welcome back." Zhang Yi smiled, wheeled her into the room, and closed the door behind him. He told Yang Xin-Xin about the people from Yangsheng base and how he had dealt with them. "This trip of ours has been really exciting," Yang Xin-Xin said. She was smarter than Lu Qiran and fought more deeply. He didn't have to worry about her revealing this information. Moreover, to address the issue with a group of students from Sudong village, Zhang Yi needed Yang Xin-Xin's help. Indeed, after listening to Zhang Yi's account, Yang Xin-Xin immediately understood the reason he had come to find her. "Boss, you have consecutively eliminated the people from the Yangsheng and Zhao Yu bases over the past few days. They have lost their important new persons. Given the current tense situation, how could they not realize this? In theory, they would soon come here." Zhang Yi smiled gently. "In fact, we are not afraid of them. Those people are not our biggest concern." Yang Xin-Xin nodded. "That's right. They are not like Shen X Iran. Without an elite army backing them, they cannot use heavy weapons. Therefore, they do not pose a significant threat to our hideout." Yang Xin-Xin said calmly. "So, can we take this opportunity to deal with the students in Sudong village? I do not resent those students. After all, I was not wronged at Tian King School. Although I may appear weak outwardly, those who harmed me have all been killed by Hoa. I only hate those foolish people who only think of their own interests without seeing the significance of their existence. Now they have become a nuisance for Zhang Yi, and Yang Xin-Xin naturally wants them to disappear." Zhang Yi smiled. "After all, we still need to borrow the hands of others. We shouldn't act directly. Anyway, Lian Yu is still very useful to us." After finishing his words, Zhang Yi took out a single jammer from a strange space and placed it in the corner of the room. He started connecting it to the power source. While working, Zhang Yi reassured Xin-Xin. Although it's troublesome for her, everything is worth it. Then, Zhang Yi took out the satellite phone he had obtained from a member of the Yangsheng base and handed it to Yang Xin-Xin. "This is the satellite phone of the Yangsheng base members. Please help me analyze if there's any important information inside. After changing the data location, send it back to me. It will be very useful for me." Yang Xin-Xin smiled and said, "Easy. For me, a top hacker. This task is really simple." She transferred all the data from the satellite phone to the computer and told Zhang Yi, "Boss, I will analyze the data thoroughly and will send it back to you once it's done." Zhang Yi nodded. "Thank you for your hard work." Zhang Yi turned and left Yang Xin-Xin's room. He left the house and continued building the defense line with Uncle Wang and his team.